A stranger steps out from behind a rock, 15 feet from your fire. You haven't spoken. You haven't moved. And before a single conscious thought has time to form in your head, some part of you has already decided whether this person is a threat. That decision took you about 1/10 of a second, not because you're careless, because for nearly all of human history, waiting any longer to decide could get you killed. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. This isn't ancient history. It's happening right now. Every single time you meet someone new, and you have never once been given the chance to opt out of it. In 2006, Princeton psychologists Alexander Todorov and Janine Willis ran an experiment that would permanently change how scientists understood first impressions. They showed participants a series of unfamiliar faces for just 100 milliseconds, 1/10 of a second. Barely enough time to consciously register that you'd even seen a face, then ask them to rate that person on traits like trustworthiness, competence, and likability. Later, they showed other participants the exact same faces again, this time with no time limit at all, as long as they wanted to look. What Todorov and Willis found, published in the journal Psychological Science, was striking. The snap judgments people made in 1/10 of a second correlated strongly with the judgments made after unlimited viewing time. Giving people more time to think didn't change their minds. It just made them more confident in a decision they'd already made in the first 100 milliseconds. To understand why a decision this important happens this fast, you have to understand that your brain built two completely different roads to process a threat, and one of them was designed to skip your conscious mind entirely. Neuroscientist Joseph LeDoux, whose research on fear and the brain became foundational to the field, described what he called the brain's low road and high road. The high road runs information from your eyes through your visual cortex, the slow, deliberate, conscious thought part of your brain, before reaching the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center. The low road skips that entire detour. Raw visual information reaches the amygdala directly, triggering a threat response before your conscious mind has even finished processing what you're looking at. The low road is faster, cruder, and far more error-prone than conscious reasoning. It doesn't care about being right. It cares about being fast enough to matter if it's right. For a stranger stepping out from behind a rock 15 feet from your fire, Faster-but-cruder was, for most of human history, a significantly better trade than slower but accurate. A wrong guess that a friendly stranger was dangerous cost you an awkward encounter. A wrong guess that a dangerous stranger was friendly could cost you your life. Since Todorov and Willis's original study, researchers have run the experiment again and again, in different countries, different cultures with different sets of faces, and the finding keeps holding up. Some follow-up studies pushed exposure time down even further, to as little as 33 milliseconds, roughly 1/30th of a second, and still found participants forming consistent, confident trait judgments. Anthropologists studying intergroup contact in small-scale societies have separately documented something that fits neatly alongside this neuroscience. Across a wide range of hunter-gatherer and tribal societies, encounters with unfamiliar outsiders were treated with immediate, heightened caution as a near-universal default, not necessarily hostility, but rapid, careful assessment before anything else happened. That default caution wasn't a cultural choice being taught generation to generation from scratch. It's a strikingly consistent pattern for a behavior that would need to be reinvented independently by every isolated society on Earth, unless it was running on hardware that came standard. None of these researchers were trying to explain the same phenomenon. A psychology lab studying reaction times to photographs, and an anthropologist studying tribal contact protocols thousands of miles away, kept independently landing on the same conclusion: humans make consequential judgments about unfamiliar people almost instantly, and that speed was never a flaw to be corrected. Here's where this stops being a story about faces on a screen. Every job interview you've ever walked into, every first date, every new coworker on their first day, some part of the person across from you decided what they thought of you before you finished your first sentence. Research on interview outcomes has repeatedly found that the impression formed in the opening moments predicts the final evaluation far more strongly than most people, including the interviewers themselves, would ever admit. Everything said afterward tends to get filtered through and often bent to fit that first 100-millisecond verdict. This is also very possibly why first impressions are so notoriously difficult to undo. It isn't that people are stubborn. It's that the low road reached a verdict before the high road ever got a vote. And by the time your conscious mind catches up with evidence to the contrary, it isn't starting from zero. It's arguing against a decision that was already made and already felt certain. You are not shallow for judging someone quickly. You are not being unfair when your gut reacts to a stranger before you've exchanged a single word. You are running a threat assessment system built for a world where a wrong answer, made too slowly, was often the only mistake you'd ever get to make. The stranger by the fire is long gone. So is nearly everything that made a stranger genuinely dangerous. But the 10th of a second it takes you to decide whether to trust a new face never got the memo. It's still running, quietly, underneath every interview, every introduction, every person who ever had to earn your trust after you'd already, without knowing it, decided whether they deserved it. You never chose to be this fast. You just never had the option to be anything else.